Right, we are live. Hello, and this is a special setup today where Chelsea and I have to get really close so we can both be on the screen, and we are bringing in Ava today. So as I get Ava in here, we have a very special topic. We are going to share about membership last week, and that was Jon Stone. And there were so many great little jewels, gems, nuggets that he shared that we all took notes about. And we are joined with Ava.
Oh,
That word.
that was so fast.
That was very fast. If I know folks are joining us, if you haven't met us, we are part of Re+active. And I'm Julie Hirschberg. I'm the owner and founder, and I'm a physical therapist. And I'm joined by the most incredible members of our team. So I've got Chelsea, and I just joined your names together.
That works.
Chelsea. I'm Chelsea here. I have Chelsea and Ava, who are a dynamic duo on our F&D team and membership, and I just love working with you. So I'm happy that we get to do this together. And Ava, maybe if you can just introduce yourself to people and share a little bit of the context of the membership and like how we brought Jon Stone in with our members and things like that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ava Sissio. I'm a physical therapist here at Re+active, and I'm also the F&D membership lead. We started this membership for basically to create more access to care in F&D and have people better understand their brains and their bodies and their symptoms, but also have a lovely community attached to that as well. So as part of the membership, we have weekly education classes that I lead, but also have special guest stars come in, like Jon Stone in this case.
The big star.
Star, yeah. So we have the F&D education class. We also have a mindfulness class too, and some wonderful exercise classes as well. So it is a really great place, and I think a lot of hope is provided for people with F&D. Yeah, and then how we got Jon Stone was actually a shout out to Chelsea. So Chelsea and I attended the FNDS Society conference in Verona this past summer, and it was such an excellent week of education and hope for clinicians, but also for people with FND as well. And Jon Stone is the president of the FND Society, or co-president, I believe. And we like cornered him in the conference, and we were so excited to meet him, and we were talking about the membership and everything that we were doing it with Re+active, and he was loving what we were doing. So we kind of joined forces with the neurosymptoms.org and Re+active. So we provided him some videos, and I thought it was such a great opportunity to have him in the F&D membership. And my goal with having him there was really to provide like a corrective experience for the people in the F&D membership to meet a neurologist that understands what they're going through and isn't going to invalidate them. And I think that we nailed it. So it was an hour. I wish it was longer for people to meet Jon Stone and then have their questions answered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved how you set it up, Ava. Like she set it up asking members, and this is such a big part of our membership. So, by the way, the membership is for people with FND. And so she asked the members, like, what do you want to know? What do you want to hear from? And polled people and set up these like big themes came up, right? So, and literally we just had like Jon Stone in the hot seat answering these questions from our members. And I was just kind of like, a big part for me was just like, this is so cool. How often do people with a disorder get to sit down with one of the leaders in the world, a neurologist who understands this disorder, and get feedback, get their questions answered? That was so cool.
Yeah, I thought he did such a really good job too. Is a lot of the questions are like you said, Julie, like big themes, kind of like these existential F&D questions that are difficult to answer, you know, in a broad way, but also like specifically, you know, some people don't know all of these things. So I thought he did a really excellent job of bridging the gap between like it's hard to answer and then also pulling in research too. So it was excellent.
Yeah. And I see some of our members have joined us in this live. So if you joined us for this special session with Jon Stone or any of our discussions afterwards and want to like share comments or anything, something you learned too, we would love to hear from you. We definitely heard back from members, really great feedback about this session, and it's recorded. So for our members that maybe couldn't join live or people who joined the membership later, they get all of the recorded sessions with this. But I think we'll have to bring Jon Stone back too. So I heard from clinicians too. They're like, wait, we want to talk to Jon Stone. And so we are bringing Jon Stone into our Brain Bytes membership in May also. So if you're part of Brain Bytes, you'll come to that. If you want to be a part of Brain Bytes, come join that. Jon Stone's an excellent communicator and educator on these topics too. So a researcher, a clinician, an educator, kind of the whole package. The Taylor Swift of FNT.
He really is.
He really is. And Farmer Jim has joined. I just want to say hello. I saw Sophie in here and Judy. I just want to say hello to our folks. And so we wanted to share some of the great insights that Jon Stone shared. Ava, I'll have you kick it off. We kind of each thought we would share something that we learned.
I think the first one I want to start with is the concept of bringing the diagnosis into the clinic. I think this is such a huge passion of all of ours, all three of us, but Re+active in general too, is showing people the positive signs of FND and using that to explain the diagnosis and then provide a positive diagnosis rather than just saying it's a wastebasket diagnosis or relying on, you know, normal imaging or relying on normal test results, right? You're actually taking the clinical signs that you're seeing, using that to explain why they're getting diagnosed with FND, and then having hope within those tests too. So even like if we use the Hoover's sign, for example, for the people that don't know what that I'm talking about is, it's a concept of a test where you are demonstrating that normal movement can occur. So then you can turn that right into a treatment and show like, hey, we have automatic movement in FND. It's still there. And this is how we can use it to treat you. And then also this is how we can describe it as well. But he summarized that so perfectly in saying like, let's bring the diagnosis into the clinic with us. And that's how he can show people like, this is why you're having these symptoms. And it makes it a little bit more tangible for folks too, I think. And it instills hope, right? Then it becomes the test becomes the treatment. And I think that is such a fantastic way to show folks, like, we know what's going on, or you need to go to OT for that as well. Yeah, really, really love that. And a shameless plug, we talk about that in our paper too. So.
Shameless plug for her paper, which by the way, we'll put the paper in our newsletter this week. So Ava led our group. You're looking at three of the authors right here in a paper describing a lot of this process. And little shout out to Ava. She's actually leading the journal club tomorrow for the FND Society on our paper. So that is super exciting. And so we'll highlight that in our newsletter. So that, I think that was such a great point in his discussion about the positive diagnosis, because unfortunately, a lot of folks end up with the diagnosis as an exclusion, like, well, we ruled everything else out, it must be F&D, and that's just inaccurate. So I loved how he really like kind of conquered that myth.
Yeah. I think if you're showing people what they have, you're naming it for what it is rather than naming it for what it's not, right? So if you, like, just rely on normal scans, you're saying like, oh, it's not XYZ other diagnosis, but that doesn't really describe what FND is. So I think that was a really great point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my next, I'm looking at my notes here. My next one, the role of the predictive brain, which is another one of my favorite concepts to describe to patients too. And I think Jon Stone said it so excellent as well, as like this is a really hard concept to explain and to state without people thinking it's like them doing it purposely, right?
Right.
And that's a challenge with the predictive brain, but it is a really powerful concept if it's explained correctly. So I have a quote from him is like, the brain hallucinates reality as an idea, which like, whoa, is
It's so
really
meta.
interesting to think about. Like you're talking existential there. But saying like the predictive brain is a way, so like we're always making predictions and inferences on our day-to-day life, right? Like we're picking up a cup, we're figuring out how heavy it is before you even do it. And in FND, that prediction can get skewed, right? Or the idea of reality is not reality. So maybe the cup feels extra heavy, or maybe it feels really light, and that prediction can be like misguided. But what he kept saying is this is not something that people are doing. Like it's involuntary. Right. So he understand the role of predictive brain as an involuntary process, then it makes more sense because it's not people doing it purposefully, right? Like you wouldn't want to do that. But you're getting misguided information about the world around you. And even to link that to the first like nugget that I had is like you can get treated for that too. Like you can have a correct sensory feedback that you're getting, or correct motor control processes. Like this is like a perfect way for neurologists to segue into like, this is great, let's go to PT, or let's go to OT from that too. So I think it's another way for our other healthcare members to refer, but then also for patients to understand why it's happening as well.
And somebody had actually asked here, I had wrote down that quote of like hallucinating.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, and you're right. What the FND said, I remember you explaining this to me. You guys did fantastic at it. But Sophie's asking, can you comment on this notion of the hallucination stage? And I'm not sure it's a stage. It was kind of a way to describe this prediction, right?
Yeah. I feel like one thing I always think of with like the predictive brain is like the idea of like drinking a glass of water when you're really thirsty. You like drink it and you're like, oh, I'm so quenched. Like my thirst is quenched, right? I feel good. But it actually takes about 20 minutes for your brain to get feedback from your body that you're actually not thirsty anymore. But because you've drank water a million times before in your life, your brain is making the prediction, I'm already going to get the water that I need, so I need to stop those like thirst signals now, right? So in F&D, perhaps the information going back up to the brain may not be updating those predictions, may not be giving reliable information, and so then those predictions get a little off or overly predicted or whatever. But that's like one of my favorite ways to talk about the predictive brain.
Yeah, I love that too. And I think he also mentioned like, let's say someone had an injury to their leg, right? Then the injury, we know it doesn't cause FND, but more of that like perfect storm cascade of events. Someone then develops like functional weakness in that same leg. Your brain has predicted from that first initial injury for say, like, this is what it feels like. And now I need to rely more on this like incorrect prediction, right? So it can be either like this like hallucination or something drawn from previous events as well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's not a true hallucination, like in that like sense of the word. I think it was a nice way to describe that the brain does these like funky things, right? To try, it's actually like to conserve energy,
Right.
And it just kind of goes awry, right? And this is a great question too, from what the FND is there a connection between predictions and suggestibility? Because this has been found in some studies in FND. And I'm not sure they've made that direct connection, but we do know that in some particular brains, those predictions are like just rapidly updated and learned very quickly. And this might be, for example, one of the connections with autism, or a neurodivergent brain that might be processing that feedback differently. And however, I don't know if that's actually suggestibility to predictive brain or just special fancy brain,
Yeah.
neuro spicy brain to predictability. And we just don't know yet. Like these are like really new research linking some of these diagnoses. This definitely, like, I see this, right? Clinically, I see people have like just really, really like, I want to say like spicy brains that could update these predictions in an unusual way.
Yeah, and I think the suggestibility also lends itself to more of that like attentional component of the F&D diagnosis. And what we know about the pathophysiology is that like the attention centers are on overdrive and they're kind of spotlighting an area of the body. And so likely that has something to do with the suggestibility. And that might explain why suggestibility is part of the differential diagnosis in F&D.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm glad we clarified because Sophie said hallucination term did make me think he was suggesting figment of imagination. So I'm glad you asked the question because I actually firmly believe he was not suggesting that. It's actually a very real thing the brain is doing that you have zero control over, and it's not your imagination, and you're not even the author of it, right? Like it's kind of this like protective and automatic brain process that's happening, and it takes some figuring out to kind of like rewire that, right? But you're not doing it, and it's not your imagination. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, that's good. Clearly we could go on and on these topics. Okay, so we talked diagnosis, we talked predictive brain. What were some things that you kind of brought home?
Yeah, I mean, so many of the members had some fantastic questions about like how do you describe recovery in F&D, and how does Jon Stone see recovery in F&D? And I think one of the quotes he said that just like hit me so hard was he said, the hardest thing we could ever ask someone to do is to try to change their brain. And
Yeah,
that to me, I think, and the members in the chat were saying, wow, that takes a lot of the pressure off here, right? That, we're not expecting recovery overnight, and that recovery can mean different things for different people. And a lot of the members, and what Jon Stone was saying is, really understanding what recovery means to you. For a lot of the individuals that were there, recovery meant understanding their symptoms and a direction in order to self-manage, right? And that enough was like the recovery they needed, right? Sure. And what I love about Jon Stone is he's super optimistic, and he's like us, and we say the same thing all the time. He's like, I always believe in recovery in F&D. I think the brain is powerful, but there's so many things we don't quite always know about what influences someone's recovery or how much recovery someone is going to make. And that varies so much person to person because everyone's brain is so different, right? So I think one that like takes some of the pressure off, and I think that can take some of the pressure off when, neurologists are providing this diagnosis in order to, say, look, we believe that there can be recovery here. There's options for treatment, like providing that positive diagnosis and direction can be enough for someone to feel really like they have good self-management of their F&D, right? So that one like really hit me. And then, he talked a lot about the balance of instilling hope and realistic expectations with people. And this is something, the three of us talk about a lot. And he had the same experience that we have where, he set up neurosymptoms.org, which is an educational site. He developed for people with F&D to provide education and resources. And he gets criticized, just like Re+active gets criticized, for sharing a lot of the like really positive recovery stories, right? And you know, he's like, he said, you know, why would I want to show you if people are not getting better? Like, I'm not gonna highlight those, you know. But you know, he said that this is a diagnosis that doesn't have a lot of you know, hope sometimes. And so providing some evidence for hope and recovery is really important. And that, you know, progress can happen and we see it, right? And so providing some of those testimonials of people who've seen recovery can really support some like improvement in all of the, you know, medical mistrust and, you know, the challenges in these medical encounters where people have been told, you know, you're stuck with this for the rest of your life. You know, it can really combat that. So, you know, although, you know, we don't love to, you know, sit around and say, you know, we're going to highlight all the hard stories, I think we do a good job of being realistic. But you know, we do want to provide hope for people that people can recover and see change, right? So that was like a really lovely discussion. And I think our members really valued his honesty and openness to provide hope and still instill in hope and stand on that foundation while also being realistic about what treatment might take and that it might be different for everybody and some people aren't ready for recovery and that's okay, right? So there were so many factors here that he was able to discuss while still having a lot of hope for people with FND.
Yeah. Yeah. He had like such a great sense of optimism because I think some of the other questions that like came up were around like you know, people just feeling terrible about insurance, about healthcare, about doctors, and in fact at one point he said doctors are the worst. And you know, you can, I myself working in healthcare and dealing with insurance companies that deny things every day for people, like I can spiral completely out of control, to be honest, into like a negativity pit. And I love that he was like, look, there are signs that some things are getting better, right? One person knowing about FND is one person knowing about FND, right? And he even said, I wrote it down, like, you just need to light these sparks and the fires will keep growing. And I love that because I think like Jon Stone was like one of the initial like sparks to be like, hey, healthcare professionals, you need to know about this, right? He was one of the first people I ever read about FND, right? He was publishing about it, he was talking about it.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, somebody asked here, I'm coming back to the chat, you know, how can we get local authorities like social work to understand this condition and they can provide help? Like, this is why we provide free trainings for healthcare professionals. We provide free resources. We do consulting with other clinicians. We share, like, this is why Jon Stone is out there sharing resources. This is why there's a journal club in the FND Society that people can join for very low cost to get information and resources. Like, I would say, like, I feel like this is like my mission on the daily is to empower other clinicians to be able to serve people anywhere in the world and understand FND and not continue some of the harm.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was really great. You know, Jon Stone is a physician, and he's like, he even said at one point, I work with other physicians who don't believe in FND, and I'm still their friend, right? And I was like, bless you. Maybe you are better than me. But he really like firmly said like that we can keep like growing
Yeah.
here. We can keep educating to undo some of the harm that has been
Yeah.
done for people who've been really um that the diagnosis hasn't been handled
Yeah.
well.
And
For
now he's
me,
got the people in the UK doing it, right?
yeah.
But you're probably going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
gonna say that now I think it was the residents have to pass like a F&D proficiency to become a neurologist. That they have to like show
yes,
they are proficient in treating it. I think is fantastic that
yeah,
they have that.
yeah. one of the reasons it has been so hard and there has been so much harm, I want to go to Sophie's point here, because Sophie, your take home from this session was one of my big take homes too. Sophie says brain and mind and organic being one and the same. I loved that bit. And this, like, back when I was in school, it was like organic or non-organic, right? Like biological or psychological. They're completely separated things. It's like either physiological or it's not. It's this like weird thing in your head. And he even said, I think I wrote it down here. He said that's unhelpful. Like, it's unhelpful to split the brain and the mind into like biological or physiological and non, because it's all physiological, like it's all interconnected and it all relies on our physiology, right? So some folks still use a term organic or non-organic, and it's just like, well, that there's only one brain. And so, you know, he's really big on the soapbox of like end this like dualistic version. And in fact, the word he said is like, it would be really nice. And he's so lovely about it. I wrote his exact words. It would be nice to have FND co-parented, like, and not, it doesn't live strictly in neurology or psychiatry. Like it is like there's one brain. And I would argue not just FND, this is like all of us as humans should be thought of. And our healthcare system should be managed in a whole person way that doesn't try to separate out, well, you have something mental, so your physiology isn't affected. Well, no, that's not the case, right? And there's many other neurologic disorders, Parkinson's, MS, Huntington's, ALS. I mean, literally everything has these complex interactions. So I agree with you, Sophie. That was such a big take home. I think he said it in such a nice way that's like out with the old. That's an old way of thinking and not helpful for this disorder or any disorder for that matter. And I think that's part of like undoing some of the harm that has occurred, is that maybe people get diagnosed and it's like put into this bucket of a mental health disorder only, for which it's not. And I saw a couple other comments from her, Jim, and said taking things one step at a time, getting that positive diagnosis and taking baby steps into recovery. And another therapist said, how does FND overlay disorders such as Parkinson's or MS? And it does frequently, like we see that they would coexist. One is not the other, but it makes sense in the predictive brain processes, especially that a person with a neurologic disorder might also develop FND, because some of those brain connections have changed and they're not getting correct feedback from their body, for example. So we certainly see that a lot. And then I think, you know, I'm not sure he exactly hit on this topic, but maybe you can help me remember. But when he talked about recovery, like this might be different for a person who has coexisting conditions, right? So it might be that we're able to train and diminish the impact of FND symptoms, but the person still has Parkinson's, or the person still has MS, or the person still has hypermobility spectrum disorder, or something to that effect. And that certainly affects their life. Yeah.
And one other piece of that I really liked was, you know, I think the dualism leads to a lot of people being told this is purely psychological. And I know you're gonna like keep talking about it, but I think that speaks to like the stigma we have around psychological issues, and the fact that, you know, these people don't want to be told that they're crazy because they're not crazy, but we all have this stigma that someone who does have a mental health disorder isn't to be believed, right? Like those people should be believed just as much as somebody who has FND, right? And I loved when he said that too, because I do think it speaks to, you know, this greater issue that we have, that there's a stigma with mental health disorders. And so it's not to say that we shouldn't include the psychosocial contributing factors. But if F&D was just stress, we would all have F&D, right? It's just not real that stress can be caused by, or that F&D can be caused by stress. So I really love that point too.
Yeah. And Farmer Jim also says advocacy is huge, and we need to advocate for ourselves and educate our providers. And it's too bad that that's the case, but also like empowering to be in a collaboration with a professional, right? And that you're bringing the wisdom. The person with F&D is really bringing that wisdom. I love that Jon Stone honored that as well. The wisdom, and that he's coming to speak to a group of people with FND and learning from them. He asked at the end,
Yeah.
right? Like he asked at the end, tell me what I need to know. Like give me feedback, right?
Yeah.
This is what every good clinician should be doing.
Right.
Right?
It's like that bi-directional relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, so special.
I know. We all want a Jon Stone. Karen, any plans for training PTs in other parts of the US to set up a clinic like yours? And
Well,
we are doing trainings all over. So we're doing our F&B weekend course. It's coming to Kentucky. We're hosting it here. We're doing actually a lot of teaching to other hospital systems and helping them, yes, set up clinics to have transdisciplinary care. So yes. Judy said, didn't Jon mention an article about how to educate your doctor about FMD? You know what article did he refer to?
I don't know if he referred to it, but there's a great article for the general physician that we have, and we could include it in the caption of this video. But it's like a practical review of F&D for the general physician, basically.
I love that.
And yeah, it's something that when I meet people for free consults, Ava and I and Julie, we all do consultations with people with F&D all around the world, and just trying to find the right fit for them to get support. And oftentimes, they initially just need some medical support. So taking this review, it's a 2021 review. And Jon Stone is one of the authors. But I have them take this to their appointments, and it can be really helpful for a practical review of F&D for the general practitioner who doesn't see it every day.
For the F&D members, that is in the membership.
I was gonna say all of these key articles are in the membership. Every time something new drops that we can get our hands on for our members, we are adding it. There's so many great questions here. Thank you. So thank you, Judy, for that question. Sophie, he's also very handsome. Yes, let's just talk about Jon Stone is handsome with a lovely accent.
He also came at it was, what was it, 9 p.m. his time and 1 o'clock our time, and I was like, wow, that is such kindness.
I know.
I would not jump on a Zoom call at 9 p.m.
He was like, I'll be there and I might be coherent.
He was more than coherent, right? It was so great. And then Sophie also is saying there's also a really great document available on the F&D Action website that is for the physician. I've shared that with people as well. This week, we have a new resource that we're sharing that you can download that is a very simple, what is F&D guide, and it goes through the myths and busts the myths and adds a very long reference list for you too. That's coming out this week. So you all asked for that, and Chelsea created it. And so it is coming. As Sophie said, it was so nice to have him be curious to hear from us. Yes, I agree. And then also therapists with the duality and diagnosis of F&D and Parkinson's. Do you just look at F&D or both? Whole person, baby, all the way. We see this, we see the overlap. In fact, I've never met a person with FND who only had FND.
Right.
Not gonna lie. Like migraine is common, hypermobility is common, right? Autism, POTS, mast cell activation syndrome. We're screening for so many things. And really what we're looking for, where do these pieces overlap? What does the person want to do and accomplish? And how can we provide resources and strategies and build capacity for that person. So I don't try to separate diagnoses. I really actually try to find the like common ground so that we kind of like get the most bang for our buck,
Yeah.
right? In treatment.
Yeah. And they often influence one another, so you can't really ignore.
No,
Right?
you can't ignore the Parkinson's and just treat the FND or vice versa. There's so much overlap. So treat the overlap. And really it's in the like goal orientation of the patient. What do they want to accomplish?
Yeah. Right.
And then you're addressing, and I think this is the beauty. I feel like the more I learn about FND, the better I am with every other diagnosis.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the sensory pieces, the autonomic pieces, the motor control pieces are so helpful for all humans, like athletes, right? Like people without neurologic disorders, right? This is so helpful. So I wouldn't try to separate those apart. Yeah. Judy wants to educate PCP. Great. I think that general physician article is great. Okay, I love this comment. You collect FD information like a dragon collecting a hoard of gold.
It really speaks to Julie right now.
I'm obsessed with dragons. I just bought myself a weighted dragon as like a sensory tool that I can lay across my lap. It's coming today, Indy. I like had therapy yesterday and I was like, I need this weighted dragon. And my therapist was like, yes, you do. So I'm just gonna collect my dragons and my empathy information together. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that comment. Farmer Jim, where are the articles being posted on the membership site?
It's in we can do this in the next education class too, Farmer Jim, but if you go into the library, there's like a resources section in the FND membership. So where you get the FND class recordings, it should say resources there.
Yeah, that's great. And so Farmer Jim is asking, this FND membership lives online, and we do education every single week. We've done it for over a year. So there's like loads of recordings on every piece of the pie, on dystonia, on pain, on brain fog, on dizziness, right? On all these special topics. Our special Jon Stone session is in there. All of these pieces are organized in a library for you, so you can go in and search. But importantly, we have all these resources. So if we share articles, if we share other videos, equipment, all of that's organized in there too. And then we have this lovely community, which is why I know Farmer Jim and Sophie and all of these great people, because it's a online community where we chat and people say, hey, Julie, do you know where to get a weighted dragon? And I'm going to send you a link to my weighted dragon, right? So,
somebody said the dragon could have a pie chart collar or something. Like,
they
know too much about
you know me. The dragon will have a pie chart design collar. I love it. I spy a new reactive mascot. You know I'm going to bring this dragon to my lives because it's very regulating. I haven't even gotten it yet. I'm just imagining, predicting the regulation. So that's our F&D membership that Farmer Jim is talking about. And that, like, we are all in it. Our OTs are in it. Our psychology team is in it. And it truly has been, wow, just like I'm kind of like overcome with like how great a community is. Many thanks to Ava and to Chelsea and our whole team being a part of it. But probably the biggest piece is our members. like Farmer Jim, like Sophie, like all of y'all who are part of that membership really make it what it is, because these are people with FND really like striving to take control of their symptoms again, take positive steps in their health and wellness, and they have good days and bad days and can share that all with each other. Yeah, as Indy says, Ava and Chelsea were both on my team when I went out and
Aw.
did amazing. You did amazing, right? And as Kaylee says, the members are amazing. They really are. Like, I'm in that membership. I post in the challenge and people are cheering me on. Like, I feel supported, right, in the membership. So it really is like something that is so gosh, kind of like full circle. It's just like a great part of my life. And as like a clinician, which by the way, we have many clinicians reach out, like, what resources can I share with patients? Share this membership. If somebody is looking for a place where they can get empowered, they can get self-management strategies, they can learn things about their brain and body, they can be surrounded by a team and by other people with FND, like, this is the membership for them. And if you're a clinician, you could send them directly to that. It's on our website at reactivept.com/FND. And as Farmer Jim is saying, the membership is wonderful. It gives me a lot of hope. Nice to have a place to chat with others who have FND. And it is a place of hope. So part of our membership guidelines too is like, this is a place where we are going to find even the smallest bit of hope, right? Not a toxic positivity vibe, but it really is a place of positively moving forward, living with your disorder. And I think that is really important. We hear from a lot of people that sometimes other forums and things are not, and that it's moderated, right? This is our team in there to be a part of the community, to really help people move forward in good days and bad. So I'm just really, really thankful, really proud of it. And Sophie says the membership is the only place I've ever met another person with FND in 30 years of having it. Wow. Yeah. And now you have a whole like family of us. So that's really great. So thank you, Ava and Chelsea, for chatting today. And somebody is asking, should I join the membership if some of the neuros I've seen say I have FND and others say it's not? I will tell you that we have folks with all of the things in our memberships. We also have beyond the FND membership, we have a membership for people with zebra conditions. And I know we've got folks in both of those memberships because they have both of the things. We have a membership for people with Parkinson's. We have a special dystonia class. Some people have idiopathic dystonia. Some people have functional dystonia, and they can all be in that class and all learn from it. So I would say, regardless of where you are, the class and our memberships are not going to give you a diagnosis, but they're going to really help you learn about your brain and body and what you need, despite what diagnosis you have, right? So whether you have idiopathic dystonia or functional dystonia, I would say it doesn't matter, right? You're going to learn tools. Farmer Jim says, it's worth it, believe me. I love meeting with Farmer Jim. One of my favorite things in our membership, we have an annual membership for which Farmer Jim is in, and our team meets individually with each of those annual members twice a year. And we just check in and we see, where are you in your pie chart? What kinds of resources do you need? And it's a really nice way to guide like individual attention to a like lifelong wellness plan for somebody. It's been, I know because I got to meet with Farmer Jim a couple times, so I have loved it. And Ava, you get to do these as well. It's a really like fun part of our.
So fun.
It's really fun. And then for all of our clinicians out there too, Jon Stone joins us in the Brain Bytes membership in May. And if you've been kind of waiting for our Brain Bytes membership, so this is a membership for clinician mentoring. We are going on our 5th year, by the way, and we'll open our doors in April, and we only open once a year now. So if it's something as a clinician where you work with complex cases, it's not just for F&D, by the way, like we're talking autism this month, chronic pain, EDS, POTS, there we cover it all, complexities. If you're a clinician that's looking for that, we get on our priority list at reactiveeducation.com/brainbites, because that's going to open and you don't want to miss it. So I thought I saw one more. I missed something, maybe not. But thank you all for bringing your comments, your questions, and your insights from our Jon Stone session. It was like such a highlight of like the year.
It really was.
Yeah,
It really
Ava
was.
texted me and was like, they say you never get to meet your mentors, but that's a lie.
Your mentors, your idols. I mean, all of us here at Reactive are kind of like, this is our idol. Jon Stone is an idol, such a leader in the field. And to have him as a part of our membership was definitely like pinch me moment. So,
For sure.
yeah. So thank you. Thank you all. And we'll see you all again soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Julie.